From a tiny economy car that humiliated V8 powered giants on the frozen mountain roads above Monte Carlo, to a sports car so gorgeous that Enzo Ferrari reportedly stopped dead and called it the most beautiful thing on four wheels. Britain spent the 1960s building machines the entire world fell for. The fastest and prettiest cars of that decade are supposed to come from Italy. At least that is the story everyone likes to tell. These are 10 of the most iconic British cars of the 1960s, and by the end you'll understand why collectors are still chasing them across auction houses in London and Los Angeles today. Real quick before the countdown kicks off. If you love classic British cars, tap that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming, because there is plenty more motoring history on the way. Right, let's get into it. But this story doesn't start on a racetrack or a red carpet. It starts in a country still rebuilding after the war, with narrow country lanes, pricey petrol, and a generation of British engineers who loved solving big problems on tiny budgets. Out of workshops in Coventry, Oxford, and Warwickshire came some of the greatest cars ever built. Let's count them down. Number 10, the Triumph Spitfire. We start in 1962 with this little open-top roadster, styled by the Italian designer Giovanni Michelotti and built in Coventry. Triumph took the humble underpinnings of their Herald Saloon and wrapped them in a low, pretty sports car body that almost anyone could afford. Pop the catch at the front and the entire bonnet tilted forward in one piece, giving you the kind of access to the engine that made home mechanics fall in love. It wasn't the fastest car on this list, and it didn't need to be. The Spitfire put wind in the hair of ordinary British families who could never have dreamed of a Ferrari, and it kept selling right into the 1980s. For a lot of people, this tiny green convertible was the first real taste of what a sports car felt like. But if the Spitfire was the affordable dream, our next car turned that dream into a worldwide phenomenon. Number 9, the MGB. Launched in 1962 from the MG factory in Abingdon, the MGB became the sports car that put the top down for the entire Western world. It used a modern unibody shell instead of a heavy separate frame, which made it lighter, stronger, and genuinely comfortable on a long drive. Americans went wild for it. Boatloads of MGBs crossed the Atlantic to California and New York, and for millions of people the words British sports car simply meant a red MGB roadster with chrome bumpers and a canvas roof. It was cheap to buy, cheap to fix, and endlessly cheerful. By the time production finally ended, MG had built around 500,000 of them, making it one of the best-selling British sports cars in history. Not bad for a car put together in a small town in Oxfordshire. But the British weren't only good at sports cars. Sometimes they took the most ordinary machine on the road and turned it into a giant killer. Number 8, the Ford Cortina. On paper, the Cortina was the definition of ordinary, a sensible family saloon built in Dagenham to get British dads to work and back. It became one of the best-selling cars in the country, the beige backdrop of 1960s Britain. And then Colin Chapman got hold of it. Chapman, the founder of Lotus, took that humble Ford body, dropped in a twin-cam engine, sharpened the suspension, and created the Lotus Cortina, a family saloon that could embarrass proper sports cars on a racetrack. Jim Clark, one of the greatest racing drivers who ever lived, threw Lotus Cortinas around British circuits with one front wheel cocked high in the air, a sight that became absolutely legendary. So the same shape that sat in 1,000 suburban driveways was also winning championships. That is a very British kind of magic. From the family saloon that went racing, we jump to the other end of British society entirely. Number 7. The Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow. Introduced in 1965, the Silver Shadow dragged Rolls-Royce out of the past and into the modern world. For the first time, a Rolls used a monocoque body, the same one-piece construction that made the MGB so much lighter, along with clever self-leveling suspension. The result was a car that floated down the motorway in near silence while the wealthy sat behind that famous chrome grille and the little Spirit of Ecstasy statue on the bonnet. Film stars, business tycoons, and royalty all wanted one. The Silver Shadow became the default symbol of having truly made it, the car you parked outside a Mayfair hotel to quietly announce that you had arrived. And it stayed in production in various forms for well over 15 years. Now, back to something you could actually throw sideways into a corner. Number 6. The Lotus Elan. Colin Chapman shows up again because in the 1960s you simply couldn't tell the story of British cars without him. Launched in 1962, the Elan was tiny, light, and built around a clever steel backbone chassis with a fiberglass body dropped on top. Chapman's whole obsession was simple: add lightness. The Elan weighed almost nothing, so even a small engine made it feel electric through a set of corners. It looked the part too, with pop-up headlights and pure 60s style, which is exactly why the producers of the TV show The Avengers handed one to Emma Peel, turning it into an instant icon of cool British television. Decades later, when master engineers set out to build the perfect little roadster, the Mazda MX-5, they studied the Lotus Elan closely. That is how right Chapman got it. If you're enjoying this drive through British motoring history, hit subscribe. Now the countdown is about to get seriously good. Alright, so here is where things get properly dramatic. Number 5. The Jaguar Mark II. This is the car that looks respectable and behaves like an outlaw. Built in Coventry through the 1960s, the Mark II was a compact saloon with a smooth, straight 6 engine, and in its hottest 3.8-liter form, it was one of the fastest 4-door cars money could buy. That combination made it wildly popular with two very different groups of people. British police forces loved it as a pursuit car, and so did bank robbers, who worked out that a Jaguar Mark II made a perfect getaway car, quick enough to outrun the very same police Jaguars chasing them, which made for some genuinely awkward high-speed chases through 1960s London. So yeah, not exactly ideal for the officers involved. Later, that same elegant Jaguar became the beloved car of the fictional detective Inspector Morse. Cops and robbers all chasing each other in the same beautiful Jaguar. June 1966, Le Mans, France. Number 4 on our list is the Ford GT40. And yes, before anyone objects, this legend was actually built in Britain, in a workshop on a trading estate in Slough. The story behind it is pure spite. Henry Ford II had tried to buy Ferrari, and when Enzo Ferrari walked away from the deal and reportedly insulted him, Ford swore he would beat Ferrari at Le Mans, the one race the Italians owned. Ford handed the project to British engineers just outside London, who built a low, brutal machine that stood only 40 inches tall, which is exactly where the name comes from. After 2 humiliating years of breakdowns and retirements, the GT40 finally delivered in 1966, storming to a 1-2-3 finish at Le Mans and shattering Ferrari's long dominance. A lot of people who loved the Ford versus Ferrari story on screen never realized the winning car was a British build, and the finish itself was pure chaos, with a staged photo finish that robbed British driver Ken Miles of the outright win. Either a brilliant piece of showmanship or a cruel mistake, depending entirely on who you ask. From the racetrack to the cinema screen, the next British car became the most famous spy vehicle on the entire planet. Number 3, the Aston Martin DB5. Aston Martin launched the DB5 in 1963, a hand-built Grand Tourer from Newport Pagnell with a 4-liter straight 6 and enough class to make a Savile Row Taylor weep. But it wasn't the engineering that made it immortal, it was a film. In 1964, Sean Connery's James Bond slid behind the wheel of a silver birch DB5 in Goldfinger, and cinema changed forever. This Aston came loaded with an ejector seat hidden under the roof, twin machine guns behind the front indicators, revolving number plates, and an oil slick sprayer, all fired from the cockpit. Overnight, the DB5 became the most famous car in the world. And here's a detail that still surprises a lot of Bond fans. The actual original Goldfinger car was later stolen from an aircraft hangar in Boca Raton, Florida in 1997. And to this day, nobody knows exactly where it ended up. Number 2, the Jaguar E-Type. In March of 1961, Jaguar unveiled the E-Type at the Geneva Motor Show, and grown adults reportedly lost the ability to speak. The car was so nearly not ready that Jaguar's test driver had to race a second E-Type through the night across Europe just to reach the show on time. It was worth it. With its impossibly long bonnet, a shape sculpted by aircraft engineer Malcolm Sayer using actual aerodynamic mathematics, the E-Type could hit 150 miles an hour, all for around 2,000 pounds. That made it one of the fastest cars on Earth at a tiny fraction of a Ferrari's price. And then came the quote. Enzo Ferrari, the hardest man in all of motoring to impress, supposedly took one look at this British Jaguar and called it the most beautiful car ever made. Coming from him, that was everything. New York's Museum of Modern Art later added an E-Type to its permanent collection, treating a car like a genuine work of art. But the single most important British car of the decade wasn't the fastest, the prettiest, or the most expensive. It was the smallest. Number 1, the Mini. Designed by Alec Isigonis and launched in 1959, the Mini solved a simple problem in a genius way. Isigonis turned the engine sideways and drove the front wheels, which freed up so much interior space that this tiny car could seat 4 adults while barely troubling a parking space. It put Britain on wheels. Everyone from students to celebrities to the royal family drove one. But the Mini's greatest moment came on ice. John Cooper turned the humble Mini into the fire-breathing Mini Cooper S, and in 1964, driver Paddy Hopkirk took his little red Mini to the Monte Carlo Rally and beat a whole field of far more powerful machines, including a thundering V8 Ford Falcon. The Mini won Monte Carlo again in 65 and 67. In 1966, the Minis actually finished first, second, and third, only to be disqualified by French officials over a technicality about the headlights, one of the most controversial calls in motorsport history. A car built for the working family had just humiliated the giants of the racing world. That is why, out of every British car of the 1960s, the Mini sits at number 1. So there you have it. From the little Mini that toppled V8 giants on the frozen roads above Monte Carlo, right back where this story began, to the Jaguar E-Type that even Enzo Ferrari bowed to. The 1960s really were Britain's golden age on 4 wheels. These cars were more than fast machines and pretty shapes. They carried a whole country's confidence, and people are still paying small fortunes to own a piece of it. If you enjoyed this drive through history, drop a comment and tell me which of these British classics you'd park in your dream garage, and I'll see you in the next one.